Hey everybody, sorry we're a little bit late coming to the party here. We got problems with our NewTek Tri-Crasher. The problem with the Tri-Crasher is it tries to run all the resources of a live streaming studio off of a single CPU, which is not designed for, and it quickly becomes incapacitated with excessive thread requests from the various functions aboard the Tri-Crasher. So every once in a while, that's why we call it the Tri-Crasher. But anyways, hey, how you doing? Apart from that, everything's great. I'm here with Ed Milewski, my erstwhile intrepid partner here, and
notice I'm sporting a spring-colored sweater.
Spring? Is that because the temperature is trending towards 11 degrees today in the downtown?
14.
14?
14.
Jesus, I got to get out of here and enjoy it while I can.
Get out on the patio there and get yourself a nice beverage.
Well,
you don't drink anymore.
I'm on the wagon.
Well, you could drink water.
Well, I could drink tea. I could have a glass of milk. I could have a strawberry quick if I wanted. When my brother and I were kids, I was the redhead. I always liked stuff that was made from strawberries. He was blonde, there's no correlation there, but he always liked the chocolate stuff. So he was the chocolate guy, I was the strawberry guy. My parents, all our relatives knew it growing up. What's the relevance of that to the price of beans in the cannabis market? I absolutely do not know. I have no idea. Anyways, so normally, what was going to happen would have all kinds of time commitments, but that's not going to happen today because we've skidded up behind the 8-ball nice and tight here. But there's still going to be some kind of an order. So today, I am going to talk to charting man Dan McDermitt at some point. At some point, Ricky Gerwitz will be here, and she's going to read the news. At some point, Jake Heimark is going to be here from Plus Products. At 3:15, Bryant Headley is going to be here from MasterControl. That conversation is going to be all about compliance. 3:40 will be charting man Dan. At 4:10, Gary Latham, the incoming CEO of Hampton Holdings, will be here. Market close at 4 o'clock, and various non sequiturs and incomplete sentences in the meantime, even some chart analysis from Ed the Head Milewski. Anyways, Ed, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm good. I'm good. You know what the hell? We're moving into spring.
You're moving in the spring. Where are you moving to?
Moving into spring.
I see.
Moving into spring.
I see.
Probably moving into spring.
Good.
Yeah. No big epiphanies here today.
No.
But,
what's the S&P all about today?
It's down a touch. It's got a very small candle, and these small candles, when they're on the upside, usually tend to sort of portend a change in direction.
Portend? Wow.
Not pretend.
Not pretend.
Portend.
Portend. Woo! Wow, we're pulling out the heavy...
never used that word before. I just thought I'd throw it out there, but I think I nailed it.
Linguistic artillery day, is it?
I just think I would...
Fine.
Yeah, I really think we're going to have a hard time getting much above 2,800 in the S&P.
Yeah, you sound like a pessimist there.
No. I'm sounding like a realist. Realist.
Realist. That's what all the pessimists say.
It looks like it's rolling over. Okay. A little bit.
So, we've been having some conversations about that, so now we've had a discussion. Dan and I were talking earlier before his segment. And,
Dan the man?
Dan the charting man.
What's he saying?
McDermitt. Well, we were talking a bit about how, really the long-term outlook, where the market's trying to price in, the smart money's trying to figure out what's going to happen with the 2020 election. If the Republicans prevail, then essentially it'll be onward and upward, more of the same, because they are such profligate managers of, the financials. So for the Republicans,
it's about making money.
Well, and there's no need to actually have any semblance of reality on the balance sheet. In their mind, the debt can be perpetual, and there will always be a way to repay it. Their Democrats, on the other hand, have more of this is a problem we need to wrestle with and bring under some semblance of control in the honor of the whole concept of responsible financial stewardship. And so that will have a short-term hit on the economic outlook going into 2020 if they were to win. Mind you, then the conversation, I'm not going to recreate the whole conversation.
Yeah, because, you're going to...
Next thing you know, I'll be paraphrasing. Dan's going to call and say, "That's not what I said, you asshole. This is what I said." So never mind. We'll have that conversation soon. But here's some news. Some news. Serious news.
Ricky Gerwitz?
You want the news? There it is. Boy, that tri-crash is really fucking up today. Charting man Dan McDermitt joins me now.
Here are the headlines moving markets today. Khiron Life Sciences Corp and Dixie Brands Inc. have signed a definitive agreement relating to the joint venture the companies announced on January 30th, 2019. With the execution of the agreement, a new company called Dixie-Khiron JV Corp has been established, 50% owned by each of Dixie and Khiron. The Quita line of CBD-based products will be broadly distributed in the United States. Dixie-Khiron will take advantage of the complementary strengths of both companies to manufacture and distribute cannabis-infused products to the Latin American market. HEXO Corp reported a loss of $4.32 million in fiscal Q2 as the company released their financial results for the second quarter of the 2019 fiscal year. HEXO also reported over $16.2 million in total gross revenue, an increase of 144% from the previous quarter. Other second quarter highlights include 4,938 kilograms of dried cannabis produced, $54.2 million in net proceeds raised through a marketed public offering, and the company began trading on the NYSE in January 2019. Valens GroWorks Corp reported a loss and a comprehensive loss for the fourth fiscal quarter of 2018 of $7.4 million or 10 cents per share, compared with the loss of $0.8 million or 1 cent per share in the fourth fiscal quarter of 2017. Highlights from the quarter include Valens' total revenue for the year ending on November 30th, 2018 was over $51 million, an increase of 26.5% compared with $40 million in the fiscal year of 2017. The company scaled its capacity to allow for 240,000 kilograms of dried cannabis and hemp input on an annual basis. Cash and short-term investments as of November 30th, 2018 were $25.2 million. Aleafia Health Inc. has closed the acquisition of all of the common shares of Emblem Corp. MedMen Enterprises Inc. has completed the sale of 2 properties to Treehouse Real Estate Investment Trust Inc. The sale includes gross proceeds of approximately $33.5 million and net proceeds of approximately $30.6 million after the repayment of debt. The properties are comprised of a retail storefront in Las Vegas, Nevada, and a cultivation, manufacturing, and production facility in Desert Hot Springs, California. Planet 13 Holdings Inc. has signed a purchase agreement with Mike Tyson's cannabis venture, Tyson Ranch. Planet 13 will now be the exclusive launch partner of Tyson Ranch products in Nevada. The agreement also includes marketing appearances by Iron Mike at the Planet 13 Cannabis Entertainment Complex. And that's your news for today.
And Mike Tyson will be joining us live on the show in 2 weeks from the Los Angeles studio at YouTube, which is where we are basing our California version of Midas Letter Live. And then the following week, we're going to be broadcasting from the YouTube studio in New York. And then in May, we're going to be broadcasting from one day from the YouTube studio in London, one day from the YouTube studio in Berlin, Germany. We're going to be in Paris, France. We're going to be in Tokyo, Dubai, and Mumbai before we head off to Rio de Janeiro. And we are essentially traveling the world and inviting guests on who are at the forefront of the cannabis legalization process in each of those regions of the world. By September this year, we'll be reporting from 10 locations around the world on a daily basis. And that is the exciting news for Midas of the day. What do you think of that, Ed? We're going big time.
Whoa.
We're going straight to the top. Oh, yeah. Nobody can stop us now. Instead of news and conversation,
You're
today, it's gonna be
confident with
music.
your voice. I don't have a confident voice.
Well, that's because you don't bellow it out, and who cares if you're on key or not. If I'm not on key, it's a problem with your ears. It's not my voice.
Milewski.
You're not hearing, listening.
Milewski.
What are you talking about?
Mike.
Polsky-O'Gorky.
Milewski.
Molesky.
Well, yeah, we're grinding.
Grinding ever higher. I think that the appropriate thing for us to do at this point, pending try, crash, or crash, that's the new tri-crasher, by the way, is we should be looking at our cannabis indexes. Let's see if NDI is going to cooperate today. Have you met our lovely and talented NDI? No? Well, let's hope that that's going to happen. Oh, look at that. Here are the indexes. Behold!
Did you notice?
Behold! Wow, I like the music. Keep that going. Keep that going while we're talking about the charts, can you? Go for it.
Look at
Not possible?
Valens
okay, so
GroWorks.
Midas Letter large cap index is pumping higher today, up 7.19%. Look at that big leap. What's that red candle mean there, Ed? Does that mean we're going straight to the top? Oh yeah, nobody can stop us now? Look at that.
What the hell is that all
What
about?
the freaking Jehoshaphat?
Is that right?
Well, let's see. Let's take a look at...
So something big. Like I saw weed was down.
Okay, let's take a look at all the constituents and see if
Yeah,
any
like,
one
okay,
of them
let's-
has a spike that justifies that. Quite the well, no, there's a total of 6% right there. Yep, that's 7.1% up, but then the downside
Wait a
is...
minute, where's 7% up? Where,
in the green here, you got 2.71, 4.47 there, but then look at the reds. You got down 3, down 2, down 1.
Yeah, no.
So this is not an accurate reading.
Why?
I don't know. Something's going on. Not only is our tri-crasher down, not only was Instagram and Facebook down, but something's wrong with the market
Something
data.
is rotten in Denmark.
Something is rotten. You know what?
Valens GroWorks is down 15 cents today. That thing, in the
well,
last...
that's because it's been gapping higher.
Oh, it's flying. I'm just looking at a chart. I got the chart up here if you want to take a look at it.
Yeah, okay. Let's take a look at your chart. It's over on Ed's NDI.
NDI.
Are you...
NDI.
There we go.
Me and my NDI. Look at that.
NDI.
Look at this. Look at this move. Look at this. Look at that. Look at how nice that channel is.
Wow.
Look at that.
Wow.
And then a break. And then a rally back, but not quite as high. I'm not trying to sound the caution here. You know what? Maybe we're going to go up ad infinitum, but I think, yeah, look at that. Tic-tac-toe.
Tic-tac-toe, 3 men in a box. What? Okay, I'm going to see if I can recreate the...
Figure out what's going on with your index there.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the portfolio manager. It's going to pull up. Yeah, it's showing the same thing. So it's a problem with the stream feed from QuoteStream for some reason. So at least it's not us. The S&P. What do you pull up an S&P chart, Ed? It's kind of like another down day.
Well, it's a minuscule down day, and what I don't like, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, I don't like to see these little candles, and that's a little candle. That's a 3-month. Yeah, let's just leave that there, and we'll put this up. And look, that says extremely low volatility today. But after 4 up days, we had 4 down days, now 4 up days. A bit of a seesaw. Bands are narrowing, so we may have a narrow trading range for a while, and then it's going to break one way or the other. Up or down. Up or down. We talked about it yesterday.
Up or down. Is our next guest ready to go on Skype here? Okay. The CSE is looking kind of strong today.
Oh, you know what was up 4 cents today?
4
Our
cents?
friends over at Huge.
Sorry?
From 20 to 24 cents.
Who's that?
Huge.
From
FSD.
20 to 24 cents, it was down at 20 cents? Oh, that's a break to the downside.
I know, but it's back to 24.
Wow.
Don't focus on the negative.
Well, it says
But
up 20% on the day.
Well, 4
That's
and 20. 4 and 20 is 1 out of 5.
There
1 out
we
of
go.
5. Last time I checked, 20%.
There we go.
It's funny how math never fails you.
Well, if it's wrong, it can fail you horribly, or if your data inputs are wrong. All right, there's Green Thumb Industries enjoying a down day of lost a big 11 cents. Big deal on that. It's good to see that something's working on this set today.
Yeah.
All right, so the biggest performer.
It's good to see that we're working on the set today.
Yes.
Working.
We're working.
Working away.
Working it.
Plying our trade.
So the big trader on the CSE index is actually FSD Pharma, up 20%.
What's the volume?
I don't have the volume number in front of me. Let's
Well,
see if I can
you know
generate
what?
that. Oh, there's the volume. It's 35.5 million.
Just that?
That's a pretty good day.
This thing trades. Well, but look at. Can I make a point here?
Sure.
I got the chart up. I want to just show this once again. My little tell is when it trades completely outside the band, as it did here.
Yeah.
Don't do it. Don't you do it to me. You did it. Okay, look at this. So let's say you wanted to get into this thing. What do you wait? You wait for, and here it's down. Oh, I heard that. Let's hope that's all. That's only a sense I have to use here. Yes. Anyway, at the end of the day, this thing was below the band completely, and look at this move today.
Wow.
Well, look, come on, it's up 20.73%.
Wow. Well, there you go. It's not dead, but not forgotten. Not dead. Anyways, we're joined now by Bryant Headley, who's the head of government customer services for MasterControl. Bryant, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. Tell me about the business of compliance that MasterControl is in.
So I'll tell you, I was using MasterControl since my government days, but it's a good quality system that brings analytics, control. It brings a whole gambit of good data collection into any kind of system. So it's really a life-changing, product that actually helps the market with their document control, their training, their audits, whatever it may be. It's just a great tool to be used out there for the market, especially growing markets.
Yeah, and is it exclusive to, is this used primarily in the cannabis space, or is it used in other industries as well?
It's used in a lot of different industries. It's used in the government. It's used in pharmaceutical, medical devices. It's a slew of different areas that we go into. Like I said, it's just a fantastic tool that'll help you, with compliance and control and the analytics part of it.
I see. So is it something that public companies can use to remain in compliance with the various regulatory rules that they have to follow?
It sure does. And it helps you through the audit process as well by having all your documentation in one area, one controlled area. So it's actually a great tool, especially for those folks. And I think most folks fall under the realm of having to be audited.
Yeah, so this is why I wanted to talk to you, and why I was interested in MasterControl is because as soon as I read about your company, I thought, boy, I know of at least 36 companies that really could use something like this. So how does a public company go about examining whether this is an appropriate tool for their compliance and, more importantly, their audit compliance processes, and how much does it cost?
So I can't really go into the cost of it all, but I'll tell you from my days of being in the other side of the realm, if you will, that we are probably the best priced product out there, and I could guarantee you that. But go into mastercontrol.com, or either email me at bheadley@mastercontrol.com, or heck, give me a call at 251-600-9367.
Okay, great. So now, is this a system that we can, let's take the typical cannabis, publicly traded cannabis company. It has audit tracking across things like genetics, across things like security, egress and exit, across entire buildings. It's got patient preference tracking. They've got seed to sale tracking of plants themselves. Then they've of course got the regulatory burdens of compliance with public markets, and all of it that is going to be audited down to a financial statement. Is this a one-stop solution for all of those functions that MasterControl can do?
It is. MasterControl, I'll tell you the beauty of it, MasterControl, is that not only can it do most of everything that you just described, but if we can't do it, we could always integrate with any other system. So it's very integratable to other systems that are out there in industry. Again, you could go into SharePoint, where a lot of people are still using, but at any point, something like a MasterControl is well more advanced than anything out there that's in industry.
All right, so that's great. Well then, who is the biggest customers that you have using this? Like what industry segments?
Yeah, so we do have FDA, we do have pharmaceutical companies like, I had mentioned a little bit earlier. We've got life sciences, we've got medical devices. I mean, there's so many different areas that I could go into that are covered. But, some of the bigger ones are, the FDA, the USDA, Army, and that's from a government perspective.
Fantastic. Okay, well, that's great, Bryant. We're going to leave it there for now. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you, and please definitely look into the tool. It's worthwhile.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's something that every public company should look at. Well, because it's automated compliance.
Automated compliance.
Tracking and
Jesus.
Yeah. So
Jesus, I need automated compliance in my life.
Yes.
And you probably need a little bit yourself.
Well, I've got automated compliance now. All right, so coming up now, we're going to talk to Jake Heimark. He's the CEO of Plus Products. He'll be joining me in the studio right after this.
Plus Products Inc. is based in California and manufactures cannabis-infused edibles, which it sells to both the regulated medicinal and adult use recreational markets. All products under the Plus brand are made with high-quality ingredients and produced in the company's dedicated 12,000 square foot food-safe cannabis manufacturing facility in Adelanto, California, staffed with chemists and food scientists. Plus Products Inc. is listed on the CSE under the ticker symbol PLUS.
Jake Heimark joins me now. He is the CEO of Plus Products, trading on the CSE under the symbol PLUS. Jake, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Jake, quick overview. What is the company all about? How was it founded, and where are you at now?
So Plus is an edibles manufacturer in California. We're one of the largest edibles manufacturers there, which is, of course, the largest cannabis market in the world.
Right.
We started in my parents' garage in Palo Alto. I was actually looking at the cannabis industry, thinking about getting interested in sort of the banking side, which in the U.S. is a real problem because it's still federally illegal.
Yeah.
And saw an opportunity as I was visiting dispensaries that many places really didn't have good food products. They weren't dosed correctly, they were packaged very poorly. My uncle used to run a $100 million contract manufacturing plant in Austin, Minnesota. So I knew what it was supposed to look like. I didn't really know how to do it. We had to figure that out along the way.
Sure.
But we started there and we grew sort of through the last few years to be one of the larger players in California.
Wow. So your gummies, I take it, are available in like MedMen stores, for example?
They're available in most stores in California. MedMen is one of the stores that are actually not available.
Oh, okay. Great. So tell me, what is the dosage that is the most popular?
Yeah, so we focused on low dose edibles. So we found that people are using
strategy.
It is, right? Because it turns out you can actually have more than one.
Yeah.
We found that the key to cannabis edibles is, first of all, on the company side, getting the dosage right.
Right.
And then on the other side, what you have to do on the consumer side is start to understand how the dosage works. So by having low, really consistent dosage, you can find your just right, that's what we call it. When you have that dose that maybe it's 5 milligrams for some and 10 for others, or maybe it's 2.5 milligrams, you need to bite them in half.
Right.
And by providing low dose edibles that sort of speak to everybody can find their own just right. Works really well.
Interesting. So what kind of sales volume are you doing presently?
We are a public company, of course, so I don't give our revenue numbers, but I'll say that from what is publicly available in the retail sales numbers from the data analytics trackers, we've 10x'd our sales over the year. Where we started at the beginning of 2018 to where we ended was a huge difference in the number of Plus products that were being sold at stores.
Okay, so what is the product called that I look for in the store?
So when you go to a store, you'll see 4 different products that are Plus every day. They're all different types of gummies. And what we focused on that's a little bit different than other companies is that just a few products that have really high SKU velocity. And we sell more of those than companies that have hundreds of different products. Because in this industry, you're going to have to make products in California, New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Nevada, Canada, and Europe, and have them all taste the exact same way. If you have a portfolio of 100 products, that's a really hard problem. Coke didn't have to make Coke in New Jersey and New York and make sure it was the same. Now, it's with problems come opportunities, and that's what Plus is really focused on. So by having only a few products, we get that customer loyalty, and then we can have those same products available everywhere.
Right, that's interesting. So what is the most popular product?
Number one is our Sour Watermelon Uplift. Actually, in all of California, across flower, concentrate edibles, and vapes, that is the number one selling product.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. And what's the potency of that?
That's 5 milligrams each.
5 milligrams.
For about $20, depending on the dispensary, you get 20 individual units of 5 milligrams each.
For $5?
For, well, $1 per unit.
$1 per. Oh, okay. So that's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I have experimented with a wide range of edibles from the stores in California, and I found that I'm not very functional with even the slightest amount of THC. I become somewhat catatonic and antisocial, and I just want to go lock up myself in a room with a drum kit and just do that instead of deal with people. So does the audience for these products on the THC side, do they trend towards the younger crowd?
Actually, interestingly, we thought they would, but they don't. They're all the different age groups. What we found is that as we've gotten that dosage right, what a lot of companies have had difficulty with was getting that dosage right. Because if you have too much, you actually get what we call couch lock. That's when you're locked in the couch and can't move at all.
Yes.
And by getting that dosage right and at a low dose, we found that people don't have that effect. That's sort of what's made us successful, was getting that right.
Yeah. One of the things that I found with edibles is people, especially with less experience, will eat one and say, oh, well, yeah, I feel it a bit, but that's nothing. And they'll eat another one and they'll go, yeah, I feel that a bit more, but I'm still good. And then they eat another one. This all happens in 45 minutes, and they don't understand that many times it takes a long time for the edible to come into your system, and 2 hours later they've got couch lock. So is that a process of education and labeling where you say to people, try one, give it a solid hour, maybe 2 hours until you know how these are going to work in your body?
So it's part marketing, it's part labeling, but the most important part is it's actually time. When I look at markets like here in Canada, and I look at people who are in New York or other states where just haven't had the history, the consumer isn't as educated. In California, it's been legal for more than 20 years. That means that the brands that are in California have had to be playing against each other for more than 20 years, and the consumers are used to a different level of product, they're used to higher quality products, and they're actually used to using them in different ways. Edibles are a different experience, and as other consumers start to learn that, what we found is that over time, as markets move toward recreational, the consumption of edibles increases over time as a percentage of the market. As people get familiar with them, they start to trust them, and the brands that are able to capture that are actually going to be really successful brands.
Sure. So are people who were formerly hardcore premium flower smokers gravitating more towards edibles as they age, because the smoking does take a toll on your exhaust system?
So a lot of our consumers are what we call acceptors. That's people who had used cannabis historically and maybe stopped using it for a long time and are now back into the industry, and they're accepting of it.
Right.
And those people we found have actually really high repeat purchase rates once they find the products that they like. Another group that's amazingly large is people who are looking to solve their pain problems. If you're looking to solve pain, you will try anything once, and then if it works, you keep buying it.
Right.
By tuning the different molecules in our different products, we actually can start to solve those states. I think any company that says that they're doing it right now is crazy, because it's so early on in this industry. It's going to look very different in 10 or 15 years. But the companies that are focusing on getting that right, we think are going to create really successful brands.
Wow. Where do you source your inputs, your THC and CBD?
We have two main suppliers in California, but what's really important to understand about Plus is we focus just on the food manufacturing part. Less than 1% of what we do is actually the cannabis content. We have a really strict regimen of testing to make sure that as we source, that we're getting the right compounds in there and we're mixing them together in a way that's really consistent. But it's sort of input agnostic. It can be BHO, it can be ethanol, it can be different types of input material. And as we go to other jurisdictions, that's really important, because if you want to make something that's the exact same in every place, and you're going to have different extractors and different suppliers, if you're not going to own the whole supply chain, you need to actually focus on making sure that you can work with different quality and quantities of inputs.
Do you guys have a CBD focused line?
We do. We have a CBD only product. It's our pineapple and coconut, what we call CBD Relief. It's actually the top 4 seller in California, meaning it's number 4.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
So what is the dosage of CBD in there?
That's 5 milligrams of CBD. Now, the state of California only allows at the most 100 milligrams of CBD in each product. And we think companies like Plus have a responsibility to help educate not just consumers, but the regulators as well. It's quite clear that higher doses of CBD are really important to getting the effects of CBD. And so we're working with them.
So when you say 100 milligrams max, is that like the whole package?
The whole package can only have 100 milligrams.
I do 43 milligrams per dose each day, and that just keeps me mellow and feeling sort of groovy.
We found that 50 milligrams is about the just right for many people, but of
Right.
course some people, it can be a very large person, it could be a small amount
Sure.
depending on how it works for you. We joined the National Cannabis Roundtable led by John Boehner to actually start working on regulating the cannabis industry, and we're interested in the CBD industry as well at a national level. I think that you have to play both on the product side and the marketing side, but also help regulators understand, because they want to do the right things. They don't know very much about this, especially when it's illegal in the US to do research, and it's something that companies like us have a responsibility to help change.
Sure. Will you participate in the Canadian market when it's legal here, which is supposed to be October this year?
Yeah, we've been talking to a lot of potential people up here in Canada. I think that the most important thing for us is that we have a really successful product. In California, it's sort of like playing in the major leagues, if you're familiar with baseball. It's like being the Yankees if you can win there. And then you go to other markets where people aren't used to making products. We make hundreds of thousands of products a month. That's hundreds of thousands of times that we get it wrong, that we can get it right the next month.
Right.
That gives us a lot of learning. So when we launch in other jurisdictions, we want to make sure that we control the manufacturing process. That doesn't mean that we have to actually own it, it just means that we have to control it. And that's really important to the product quality, and we think product quality and what we call leading with product is a way to actually help develop the brand in the long run in this industry.
Sure. So did you guys sort of pioneer the creation of these from back before it was illegal, or are you recent to this?
Good question. We actually started in the medical market in California with a cannabis-infused gum. It has all these great attributes. It's low calorie. It's fast acting. I thought it was going to be a hit.
Yeah.
Turns out, and this is where by making lots of things you learn, that's actually a little bit too far ahead of the consumer, even in California where people have been doing it for so long. So all these learnings about what makes it successful, we've actually learned by putting them in the market. We've had to adjust machinery. We've had to adjust our recipes just to get it right. And that's what we're bringing with us as we go to other places.
Cool. So from an investment perspective, what's the growth catalyst? What's the primary driver of growth in the value of the company?
This year, the primary driver of revenue for us is actually going to be regulatory. So if you look at what happened in the 2018 versus 2017, when in the first year of recreational sales in California, the total market shrank, which means one of two things happened. People consumed less cannabis the first year it was recreational, or more cannabis moved to the black market. I would be surprised if people consumed less cannabis.
Me too.
So as we look to 2019, we're really excited that the California state seems to be stepping up the regulatory enforcement. It's going to move more people toward the legal market. And what's really interesting is that as people move from black market shops to legal shops, what they purchase changes. People don't feel comfortable purchasing edibles from their corner drug dealer. That feels weird. But when you walk into a store that's beautiful, that's well kept, that has great products all over it, you actually may want to try one of these edibles. And once you do, keep purchasing it.
Very cool. So I've heard that up to 90% of the vendors of cannabis in California are still not properly registered and licensed.
That sounds like a number that's hard to quantify. I'll say we got one of the first annual licenses in California. We're really proud of that. We got one of the first temporary licenses as well. We have a chief risk officer who monitors not just compliance, but actually helps educate the regulators on what we're supposed to do. She came from both Uber and Facebook.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
So will you guys create more products as the market matures, like across different categories?
Of course we will.
Yeah.
You can't be relevant, and there's an opportunity here to create a infused product manufacturer that really can span the entire infused product manufacturing spectrum. So it's everything in edibles, but also tinctures, oils, vapor cartridges, anything where the manufacturing is adding something to it. That's where we see the value of a brand can actually provide something to the customer. when we do what we do, well, we like to keep it secret until we launch it.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, that's awesome, Jake. That's a great introduction to the company. I've not been familiar with it. The cannabis deals are starting to fly this way faster than I've ever seen. But we'll leave it there for now. We'll come back to you in due course. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me.
You bet. Okay, coming up next, upcoming in the cannabis space.
Here are some upcoming events in the cannabis space. Tilray are set to release their Q4 financials on March 18th, followed by a conference call at 5:00 p.m. Eastern. Curaleaf are releasing their Q4 financials on March 20th with a conference call at 4:30, and Cronos Group are releasing their Q4 financials on March 26th, also with a conference call at 8:30 in the morning. CannTrust will be releasing their Q4 financials on March 28th with a conference call at 8 a.m. that morning.
Yeah, baby. Lots of financials, baby. Yeah, baby. Ed, what's going on in this planet today? Like, did you see that finally? Now the United States has finally grounded Boeing planes too, because, okay, maybe there is a problem. Maybe we're a little bit hasty in our judgment. The rest of the world just doesn't know how to fly airplanes, and could be that we might have a design flaw here. I find it most disturbing that they felt that the impetus should be to let the planes fly until we're sure there's a problem.
Well, they couldn't fly anywhere anymore. That's the U.S. had no choice because no one was going to take them.
If you read the U.S. media, it was saying, world gangs up on FDA, world rebukes FDA, as if like the world was unreasonably arrayed against the FDA, and the FDA was being victimized by the world for this temporary issue, which really had nothing to do with safety, was just the world ganging up on the FDA. And there was even some bozos at the National Post were saying like, not bozos at the National Post, at the FAA, as reported in the National Post, the guy was saying it's a bit irresponsible to jump to conclusions until we've determined that there is a problem. Is it not the opposite that is true? It's irresponsible to let planes fly that might have a problem, as evidenced by two of the same crashing in the same circumstances within 6 months of each other. That's the problem.
I know, but you know what? The whole court system is you're innocent until proven guilty. That's why that happened, probably.
Well, okay. But to me, it smacks of corruption when the regulatory agency is more interested in preserving the financial well-being of a country at the expense of human life. And this is the slippery slope that our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, has got us walking down with his subjugation of the rule of law to the interests of S&C Lavalin, ostensibly for 9,000 jobs, which that's just bullshit, as the whole country knows. Justin, are you still in power? What are you doing there? Get out of the office. Make room. Anyways, I thought we weren't going to be political, Ed. I guess that is political. I'm not really political. I'm apolitical.
You know what?
I hate them all. I hate everybody.
I'm not.
Fuck you all. I hate you.
I'm telling you, like if you look at where humans were, say, 15,000 years ago.
15,000 years ago?
Yeah. Like,
they were dragging their knuckles on the ground.
We were foragers, foragers and
hunter-gatherers?
Yes.
Opportunistic
and
killers?
no mail, no taxes.
Well, I don't know about no taxes.
No, not back then. Not if you're looking
If you were number 3 on the totem pole in the hunting party, 4 on the tribe, believe me, you were getting most of the best parts of your killed meat taken from you and given to the leader, just so he would let you continue to live.
Okay, let's go back a little further then.
At
some point, it didn't work that way. And then,
I don't know. Like even you look at the monkeys.
The monkeys?
The monkeys.
The band, the monkeys?
The head ape
we're the
sits
monkeys.
there, and all the other monkeys have to pick the nits off of them, and he just sits there looking around like, this is my... You're paying the tax to me. Anyways, and actually, I would argue that tribal system of tax collection is in fact what exists. Not democracy, not socialism, but full-on hegemony, what's that other term? Oligarchy.
Polski oligarchy.
Polski oligarchy. That's it.
Yeah,
Anyways.
you want to say oligarchy, but
Oligarchy.
it's Polsky oligarchy.
Polsky oligarchy.
Polsky oligarchy.
Anyways, I'm going to talk to Dan, charting man Dan McDermitt from thechartguys.com right now.
Let's talk to him. I want to hear his
If
view.
you're enjoying the show, subscribe to Midas Letter on YouTube so you stay up to date on everything investment. Charting man Dan McDermitt joins me now via Skype from Asheville, North Carolina. Right, Dan?
That's right. Glad to be back.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. Dan, so today our theme is, the outlook for cannabis stocks and the economy generally in the context of the 2020 elections. And you had some interesting hypotheses, theses, we'll call them. Why don't we start with that?
Sure. So it's bigger picture. We're looking 20 months out, and I'm told that in the U.S. it's a much bigger deal. We look a lot further ahead in the election than you do in Canada, and that's probably because there's billions of dollars doing their best to purchase the outcomes. But what we're going to be looking for is we clearly see that the stock market, is a fan of Trump and Republicans. It's been going up since he was elected in a very big way. So we can assume that if Trump is reelected, the market is going to be, continue to do well, continue to hold on. And that would be important for the MJ sector because, I'm always talking about correlations to the S&P 500 and how big of an impact that does have on the sector as a whole. But we can also look at the other side of things and say that if a Democrat were to win, that would be negative for the overall market, in my opinion. And we could anticipate things are going to go down due to a number of reasons. We have Democrats talking about reining in the biotech sector, reining in the big banks, reining in Citizens United, which allows for big money to have influence on politics. So if that were to happen, we would anticipate the markets would go down. But we can make the assumption that if a Democrat were to be elected, they are very likely to have a very pro-marijuana legalization platform as well. So we can assume that while the markets will be going down in a reaction to a win, we would see the MJ markets start to thrive again, anticipating that we would get accelerated steps toward legalization. So it's almost like the marijuana sector could be a hedge play to go bullish in as the market pulls back if there were a Democrat elected. Now, way too soon to look at polls or anything like that, but this is just broader picture, something to start wrapping our heads around as we get ready for 2020.
Sure. So are you suggesting then that a Republican victory, while it will be good for the broader economy, would be less beneficial to the progress of cannabis deprohibition in the U.S. than would a Democrat win?
I would say so. I think it's inevitable regardless. We're just talking timelines, and I think a Democrat would probably be a faster timeline towards legalization, towards rescheduling, getting the banking sector involved, all of the key points that we need to see for the US MJ market to start to thrive. So it would be an accelerated version of what's going to play out if the Democrats were to pull out a victory.
Sure. Do you think the scope and scale of the cannabis market in 2020 would be sufficient to offset the broader economic downturn that would be engendered by a Democratic victory as they seek to bring debt and spending under control?
Not big picture, not as far as the whole market is concerned, but if we're talking individuals, my parents are of the age of entering retirement, and so I'm constantly wondering, what are people that have retirement accounts going to be doing? And if we were to see a Democrat victory, it would be bad timing in the sense that, their investments would probably be taking a hit while they're already retired, while they're relying on that money. But if they make that hedge play and go into the MJ space, in my opinion, it will make the blow to their account a little bit less severe.
Interesting. Okay, so one of the events in the cannabis space that I wanted to touch on is we saw HEXO bought Newstrike. So that's HEXO was the larger company there, and Newstrike was the lesser company. But against normal traditions, when that kind of thing happens, we saw that the acquiring company's stock went up, as did the acquiree, which is contrary to the normal pattern of the acquiring company's stock taking a hit in the short term until it actually ingests the smaller company. Why do you think that the stock of HEXO rose on news of the takeover bid?
Well, I won't take credit for John back there, but The deal was done with no premium, and that's significant. And usually you see premium paid to the company, and that's why people invest in these smaller companies hoping to get bought out. And this is a change from that norm, and it's also a potential, maybe an omen for future companies saying, wow, we don't have as much hype in the space. Maybe those premiums are going to start shrinking a little bit. So maybe all these smaller companies, these smaller LPs that are looking for the potential of a buyout deal from a CGC or a bigger company, maybe they're not going to get as good a deal. So I think it has a bit of a ripple effect in terms of perhaps lowering expectations in terms of the premiums that smaller companies are going to receive in the near-term future.
Okay. All right, Dan, so what are we looking at here?
So we've got CGC. This is a 5 to 6 week long pattern, and it's just a tightening range. And if we were going to visualize this, it would be something along the lines of a pendulum where the swings are getting smaller and smaller each time, and we're going to reach what I call, this is an equilibrium pattern, and we reach a flex point where we literally can't get any tighter. And when that pattern reaches that flex point and we get a clear break, we see a volume spike. So next week, we're anticipating this pattern is going to break. And people that draw trend lines, I'm not much of a trend line drawer myself, but if we were to do it here, you could just see visually it's a tightening range that's going to be forming. So like I said, we're anticipating a break next week. Here we are coming down towards this support here. And the key levels to be watching, 43.71 on CGC as a support level, and our new resistance level that's key is 48.01. So we are going to see this range continue to tighten into next week. We're going to see a volume spike somewhere along the lines of, let's say 12 million plus shares traded. Right now our average, 20-day average is about 7 million shares traded. So the volume spike tells us the break is occurring, and we're going to be looking for this break to dictate pretty much where we're headed for April in terms of momentum. So I do believe, obviously, because this is the sector leader, in my opinion, that it's going to have a significant impact on all the players in the sector. There'll be some names that can, go against the grain and do their own thing, but in a broader sense, this break of this CGC pattern is going to be really important for, again, end of March into April.
Interesting. So the break that you're speaking about, is this a sign that investors are getting sort of fatigued with the diminished performance potential as a result of this consolidation pattern, and that that's going to cause some abandonment of the play?
Well, it's one thing that we don't do is we don't try and predict direction. So with these equilibrium patterns, they're very common after high volatility. So when we had this huge move back in January and February and we entered a new range, this is just price discovery. This is trying to find out, where we stand. And so we're not saying it's going to be a bull break or a bear break, but we know a break is imminent. So if we get a bull break, we're going to see shorts cover, and we're going to see bulls pile on as we look to test the recent high of 51.81. If we see a bear break, we're going to see stop losses trigger, we're going to see bears jump in, and there's a lack of support down under 41.68. So we would potentially be looking to the upper $30 area as a target from there. So it's going to paint a completely different picture depending on which direction this break does occur.
Wow. So I guess absent a fundamental catalyst, is it more likely, in your opinion, that we're going to see a break to the downside, whereas if we do see something that would be considered fundamentally significant, that the break might happen to the upside?
I would say that the break right now is favored to the upside for a number of reasons. Number one, the trend, just in the sense of where we are coming from. We're coming off of a bull move, and this is a tightening pattern from that bull move. And number two, the S&P 500 has really impressed me in terms of the resiliency of these bulls over the past 3 months since the December crash. They've held up extremely well, and we've got oil holding up extremely well. So until I see weakness in the S&P 500 or in oil, I'm not going to anticipate significant weakness in the MJ sector.
Okay, do you have an S&P chart good to go there?
Sure, we can pull it up. This is SPY, which is the ETF, which tracks the S&P 500. Let's clear up these lines. So just looking at the weekly time frame, again, the dump from December, we saw just a straight up V-shaped recovery with no consolidation. We finally got the consolidation we were looking for, and it lasted all of pretty much 1 week. And just like that, the bulls are right back to the high of the bounce. So holding on very strong. And at this point, for me, we're going to have to break the low of last week to see any kind of bearish momentum in this sector, or I should say in the markets as a whole. So 272.42 on SPY is a key level for me. And if we were to pull back into next week on SPY back to the low 270s, that's a scenario where I could foresee CGC breaking bearish. CHRON is also at a pretty critical point in terms of coming up on a couple key supports, 1950 and then down to 1872. These are US numbers. But again, once those levels break, if they do break, there's a lack of support immediately below those levels, just like there is on CGC. So bears could get a little bit of follow through if that is indeed how it plays out.
Looking at the large cap cannabis companies, it seems like they're all sort of falling into this this pattern, this equilibrium pattern after the big spike in the first quarter of 2019. And is that more or less indicative of the potential for another summer downward drift absent sector-wide catalysts?
Yeah, we're definitely looking for that. Seasonality has been a big part of the MJ sector for quite some time. We've talked about it on your show here in the past. So it is, I mean, and it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy to a certain degree, where this is the narrative that we're seeing in chat rooms and in social media groups that are concerned with this sector. Just, people are expecting that perhaps sell in May, go away is going to be occurring in this space. And for a lot of names, I mean, it wouldn't be a significant red flag if we were to see consolidation. Just looking at CHRON, the run that we saw back at the end of the year, I mean, we could pull back into the upper teens and still be just fine on a longer term picture with how significantly we have run. I mean, just looking back, we ran to 1530, we gave back 50% of that move and then saw continuation. So if you are truly long term and you're looking out, 3-5 years plus, then weekly consolidation and a bear break of these daily patterns wouldn't really be a major concern at this point.
Wow, Dan, fascinating as per usual. I always learn so much when I'm talking to you. We're going to leave it there for now. I'll come back to you next week. Thanks so much for your input as usual. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Make sure you never miss a show by subscribing to our YouTube channel and clicking on the little notifications bell. If you're interested in getting monthly actionable investment ideas in the cannabis space to your inbox, subscribe to the newsletter at MidasLetter.com. Not in 2019. Hey, everybody, welcome back. So, yeah, there's the theme of the day, equilibrium.
In other words, a market that's just moving sideways, getting ready for the break.
Yeah.
No,
so does that
sense
coincide
that.
with narrowing Bollinger Bands by any chance?
Yeah, kinda. I mean, he looks at it a certain way.
Yes.
But he says he doesn't like to draw trend lines, but he did draw a couple.
Yes.
To signify that we've got a little bit of a narrowing range, and as this thing narrows down, look at this.
Yeah.
Tapering.
Good one.
And then it's going to make a break, and
okay, so
he's not saying which way.
In the spirit of that, we don't really want to spend our time gazing at the belly button of the universe looking for stocks that are just in an equilibrium pattern. What we want to do is we want to find stocks that are more or less looking like they're going to have a solid break. And our most recent addition to the family here, Khiron Life Sciences, is just such a stock. So in contrast to what Dan was saying and the equilibrium pattern, oh, look at my laptop just of its own volition.
Can I just say something though? Yesterday I made a comment that after that, all that volatility, Khiron's sort of gone to sleep.
But it hasn't.
Well, the last 5 days it has.
Well, it's a little bit quieter. But
it could be because of Slack Week.
Yes, but my point is that it is not emulating the equilibrium pattern of the large caps.
No.
So it's like if you look at my let's see if maybe the NDI is not functioning. Can you see? There we go. I love it. Music and. But anyways, so we got the narrowing Bollinger Bands here.
Yeah.
But so this isn't consolidation. This is still movement higher, and even the trend this way.
You know what? Look. I'm not going to argue with you, but I will say that the bands were wider, and now they're narrowing, and that may mean Khiron may go sideways for a while here. Wait, but that's okay because it's going sideways at 340.
It's okay. enough about our client. Let's talk about somebody that we don't have any. VCAN, how about this one? Is that a pattern of consolidation, equilibrium, or is that looking like it's still moving higher?
That looks like it's moving higher.
Okay.
That one does. To me. I'm just telling you what I see. I can't,
Good. Good.
I don't want to tell you what I don't see.
That's true. That would be horrible. All right, let's look at this all in the context of the larger market here. If I go to the portfolio manager. All right, so the market's just closed, and what do we got here? We have what is essentially a very mixed close in the large caps of amounting to more or less nothing. Like very little movement in any direction, except in the case of huge, which, gosh, I have a hard time reconciling that as a large cap. Anyways, so very quiet and sideways in the large cap space, except for our friends at huge. In the CSE space, well, we're looking at let's see here if we can array these by gainers and decliners. Okay, so there again, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, have 17 losers, a dozen gainers, and a whole bunch of unchanged. So again, another resolute day. Who are the biggest movers on this day?
I'll tell you what's had a big move.
What's that?
Johnson Wagner, or James E. Wagner. Johnson Wagner.
JWC, yes, JWCA.
That you could have picked that little baby up at 80 cents a week ago.
Yeah.
Now today it hit $1.08 or $1.09.
Yeah, 20-cent move.
Well,
over the last little while. That's
25%.
good.
Let's make it a percent, and it seems so much bigger. 20%.
There you go. Let's see. Our Ventura Cannabis, who was here yesterday, gained a penny, 90 cents. That's positive. Let's see. Boss Ventures, 68 cents. That's Petty Green's deal out there on the West Coast. Other than that, I see. We're looking at the wrong index. That's why. Other high traders on the day, or non-performers. Let's see what with the non-performers. CLSH.U, down 8 cents to 30 cents. See, all of these are lower price stocks, except for still Acreage Holdings, 1705. I want to look at the chart of Acreage Holdings just because I'm just trying to get a sense of.
Just because, is that the statement there, just because?
Just because I'm getting a sense that ACRG.U, CNX. Now, here's a equilibrium chart, but the equilibrium is developed to the downside.
Well, when I listen to Dan the Man talk about equilibrium, it's more of a sideways. This has got a, February was down, March is down. Which one is this?
This is 3 months.
Of what?
This is Acreage Holdings.
Oh.
That IPO'd. Let's go out to the 6 month look
Put up
here.
to 6 month. Okay.
That IPO'd back here.
That's telling.
And at one point, it did open the day at 25.65 here. Had a high of 26.90. But apart from that, it has never closed. Almost closed. It has never closed at its IPO finance price of $25 US a share.
That dirty, no good for
Has gone down here as low as $11.99. But boy, you could have made a little score.
What did it close at on that last green candle on the upside there, right?
Here?
No, the one that's at the peak.
Over here.
Yes, sir.
That was closed at 24.29.
So it got close, and then about 3 weeks later, there's another green one.
Yeah.
And it tried it again. And no, keep going. 3 weeks. Yeah, there you go. What did it close there?
23.80.
See? Told you.
So here we have a pattern of lower highs and lower lows.
This thing is just taking on water.
Yeah. I wonder why that is. This is the company that's got John Boehner on the board. It's got Brian Mulrooney.
Well, those guys know how to run businesses. I mean, come on. They run the country
into the ground.
Into the ground.
Yes, into the ground. Yeah, boy.
No, I tell you, I met Bryant
Yes.
the other day.
Is our 410 guest here yet? Okay. All right. Oh yeah, I'm misreading the chart here. Okay, so what else has gone on in the world today? I'm going to pull up. This is my new funnest thing to do. Is I just go to a browser and I punch in the word cannabis, and whatever browser it is, I hit news, because it's really kind of funny what comes up here sometimes. Sales of legal cannabis, dried cannabis, declined in January. Now, how much of a surprise is that?
Dried cannabis.
Dried cannabis.
Not wet cannabis.
Well, you can't buy wet cannabis.
Why not?
They don't sell it.
Don't you like it when you buy a nice bag of weed and it's kind of moist like a nice cigar, like?
Well, you don't buy that. You don't get that in the mail in Canada. You don't
No, because the Postal Service takes a little time.
All right. So anyways, up next, the CEO of Hampton Holdings, Gary Latham, will join us via Skype.
Hampton Holdings Corp is a Canadian-based cannabis brand and distribution company serving California's legal recreational and wellness markets. Hampton has established a foothold in the distribution market through the acquisition of 420 Realty, a company developing a vertically integrated model in the outskirts of Los Angeles. The company has also acquired Coachella Grow Corp, a full-service production facility for licensed medicinal cannabis cultivators, and entered the edible space through the acquisition of the Cali Gold brand. Hampton recently completed the acquisition of the licensed cannabis manufacturing company Mojave Jane LLC. Hampton Holdings Corp is listed on the CSE under the ticker symbol HC.
And now CEO Gary Latham is with us via Skype. Gary, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm well as well, thank you. You've been making some moves since we last chatted. You've got your manufacturing distribution center in Cudahy, is it? How do you pronounce that?
Cudahy. It's a city that's in East Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. Very cool. So what's the progress there? What's going to happen there when it's done?
It's good. So Cudahy is a great facility for us. It's about ballpark of 15,000 square feet, and it's a footprint for the business. We have 6 licenses, I believe, there from the state of California. So we're able to, when it's all built out and operational, we will be operating nursery there, distribution, what we call non-storefront retail, which is really delivery, and then manufacturing and a kitchen to produce edibles. So we were very happy to put the small bit of demolition behind us that we had to get done and move on to the actual build out.
Sure. Now, delivery in California is quite a hot business, because when you have a delivery license, you can deliver anywhere in California. Isn't that right?
Yeah, you really nailed that right. So this has been a hot button here in the state for a while, and one of the really cool things about delivery is, as you said, you can deliver anywhere in the state. So even if there's a municipality, as an example, that has decided they don't want to have a retail operation in the city or have cannabis manufacturing or cultivation or anything like that, you're still allowed to deliver into that city, which is great. It allows you to service medical and recreational consumers as well.
Sure. Okay, so, and one of the products that I've actually had the pleasure of making an acquaintance of is your Cali Gold chocolate. And let's just say that it's a good thing I didn't have to fly my private jet that day, because I'd have been doing the loop-de-loops if I had a private jet.
Did it sneak up on you?
It sure did. Now, I got to think that this is probably one of the more popular items in the candy stores of California these days.
Well, it's cool. Cali Gold is a product that decided to really, the guy who's making that decided to really focus on cannabis and chocolate, not just the chocolate. So he's developed strain-specific chocolate bars and drinkable chocolates and a variety of other products. And we get great response to them. They're a lot of fun, obviously.
Sure. How much does one chocolate bar cost? I can't remember.
I think retail on them is in the $12 or $14 ballpark, as I recall, but I think that's about right.
Sure. And what's the most popular dosage? Like, how much do people eat of these things?
Well, it's, you really got to watch it with edibles, of course, as you just described. You have to be very aware of how much of an edible that you consume, because the effect of it can be delayed a little bit. So we tend to encourage people to break off one little square of a piece of chocolate and see how that goes over a couple hours. So, yeah,
okay.
It's
great.
It's
great.
Yeah.
So you've got a whole bunch of different things going on there. What is the sort of development initiative that you've got happening in High Hampton that excites you the most, that is going to generate the most hoopla in terms of the balance sheet over time?
Yeah, that's a cool question, because we're having a lot of fun kind of reshaping the business a little bit right now. And to put it in context, you guys have seen the pricing and what have you for flower products sort of continue to slide down the scale a bit. So we really wanted to shift our focus to be all about making products and creating brands to take out to the consumer marketplace. And to do that, the real key for us was to be able to get our eyes on consumers and be able to understand them. And in California right now, if I get the number right, I think there are a total of about 800 dispensaries. So 800 dispensaries touch a small part of the consumer base. Delivery has the opportunity to touch a really large part of that consumer base. So we recently made a strategic investment in a group called 2083. They operate a statewide delivery service called Speedweed. And Speedweed's a bit of an icon in the business and has a lot of good reputation and goodwill in the business. And they are up to about 250,000 consumers today. They're operating out of about 10 dispensaries and delivering mostly in the Los Angeles area and growing quickly to San Diego and up around the Ventura, Santa Barbara area. So with that investment, what really excites me is that we get to put our eyes on what consumers are really doing, what they're buying, what they're looking at, even what they spend time looking at without buying it on the delivery platform. And the engine that we built at High Hampton allows us to go and produce products and brands to go and very precisely match what those consumers are looking for and interested in. So that marrying up of data with the engine we've built, plus the ability to deliver to consumers, I think is a home run for us.
Yeah, you bet. So earlier in the evolution of High Hampton, there was a focus on developing growing capacity on a sort of farm-out basis to other brands who wanted to expand their production footprint. And that was mostly happening in Coachella. I haven't heard any mention of that. Is that something that you've sort of moved away from, or is that still in development in the background?
Yeah, so the original plan was, we have 11 acres out in Coachella, and the original plan was to develop about 250,000 square feet of cultivation space and production space, and be able to lease out a little bit of that to other companies, licensed companies that were looking to put a stake in the ground. There's a lot of that kind of model being repeated around California, a lot of it around the Coachella Valley and what have you. And as we watch the sort of race the downhill race on the flower production side on pricing, we got it in our heads that maybe the right thing to do was to wait out the evolution of the cultivation business a little bit and contract for the product that we need, as opposed to growing it ourselves, and really try not to be in the real estate business. So we have a good asset sitting there. It's fully licensed and ready to go and ready to build out. Should the market change to a place we want to do it, we're ready to go.
Okay, good answer. Awesome. So then what besides the Speedway transaction, what are some other catalysts that we can look for in 2019 that are going to drive the bus forward here?
Yeah, so, the right way to think of us is this sort of engine we've assembled. Distribution capacity, the delivery capacity, the kitchen and the manufacturing capacity, all of those parts of the engine are kind of ready to go. So what you ought to see now is that engine starting to run. So we have begun to ship products from Cali Gold and also from Mojave Jane, and what you will see next is additional brands coming out of both Mojave Jane and the Cali Gold side, and some very specific products that will hit the market through both through our distribution channel and through our delivery partner.
Mm-hmm. All right, Gary, that's an awesome update. Sounds like things are really progressing well for you. Thanks very much for the update. We'll come back to you soon.
Good, thanks a lot. I appreciate being on.
You bet. Yeah, hi Hampton. Plowing forward. Plowing on forward. There was a lot of news put out today, which is kind of odd for a Thursday, isn't it? Or you don't share this sentiment?
I don't know. It comes out when it comes out.
That's a good point. Very well said.
Well,
Khiron put out a press release today that they were planning to bring more than 100 market-proven products to the Latin American cannabis market. This Dixie and Khiron JV, they have a portfolio of cannabis-infused products that they're bringing to Latin America in a 50-50 JV. And I think that is going to move the needle in terms of the income statement for Khiron. And full disclosure, I'm a shareholder. They're a client. We are very interested in Khiron Life Sciences, but let's just say that we chose each other, and we remain happily married to this day. It's quite likely that the CEO from Dixie will be joining us tomorrow to give us some more color on that relationship.
Nice.
Can you imagine? Now, all of the cannabis stocks have been more or less good performers from the beginning of the year.
Ever since the Friday before Christmas.
A handful of them have been
spectacular.
But on the other end of the spectrum, some of them have just been like
shitters. Doggy.
Yes, there's been an uptake in the flea population. So, Edward, would you say that at this juncture in the cannabis market, you've got your majors are developing these equilibrium patterns, and you've got the tiny ones are staying tiny, and they're making little squeaking noises out of their tight little sphincters. And but the ones that seem to be really sort of gathering momentum are the mid caps, the ones that have been sleepers while the big ones became big, and the little ones, the proliferation of little ones that will continuously come on at the bottom end of the scale. A large portion of those disappear from that realm in the micro cap sector.
Look at flour. It's doubled in the last 2 months. That's from about 300 and change $1 million market cap to 700 million market cap. That's a big move.
That's a big move.
And that's not I would say the typical experience in the last. Well, there's been some good ones.
Yeah,
Allison
Khiron
Gordon's
doubled.
company, a Khiron, almost a triple. Almost a triple.
And if it's done at once, well, you never know. Fingers crossed.
But you know what? I mentioned Kronos earlier, and that's been unbelievable. But that's been slowly backing off now.
Which one?
Kronos.
Wow, did break $32.
temporarily.
Yeah, but
Now it's 20.
so
Now it broke 28.
$2. What was that? That was $6 billion. We figured that it had a peer group value based on capital invested. If we were to compare it to Canopy at $5 billion invested, what was it? $10 billion. So let's just take a look at that right now. Right now, people, we're going to take.
What do you want me to do?
I'm going to take a look at our old friends at Kronos.
Okay.
And Kronos is today valued at $9.1 billion. So there you go. At $32, it did touch its valuation of $10 billion, which we figured was fair value for the company based on a comparison to peers that had taken in billions of dollars in investment from a major corporate partner.
This looks kind of like if you look at this chart, and I've got it up here. Well, I've got the chart up here. And there it is. Look at this. We got the high there. We got another high here, a little bit lower. We've got the band really wide here, the Bollinger Bands, but then narrowing. You know, it looks like equilibrium.
Equilibrium sets in.
But you know, it's going to make a result. It's going to do something here, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, it's funny. The markets seem to get more and more ahead of themselves. Like this, every time I see these, you know, a broad-based equilibrium develop in a certain sector ahead of the summer months, it's like it's setting up for the sell in May and go away phenomenon. But it seems to be doing it early and earlier in a market where the bull market is intact generally year on year. You notice that? Whereas in a market like the mining market, which has been suffering horribly for, call it a decade.
About a decade.
Well,
maybe 12 years. Maybe 12 years.
Sell in May and go away doesn't really happen because everybody went away in 2012 and hasn't come back yet.
We had that one pop there for a year and a half.
Yeah.
After the meltdown in 2006-07.
Yes. Yeah, well, that was thanks largely to the lithium space. That was the, I like to call that the Justra pop.
Yeah.
He rolls out a lithium behemoth, promotes the hell out of it, up it goes, and next thing you know, there's 400 lithium companies on the board trying to do the same thing. Trying to get some of that love to rub off on it. I'm going to go over here to our audience zone and see who's around.
Not to be confused with the auto zone.
Hello to Mark Pepper. Mark Pepper opines from the chat land of our YouTube channel that Supreme is a sleeping giant. A little bit promotional. We're supposed to be the promoters here. Hi, James and Ed. Take a look at IMT. They have released data from the Ontario Elliott Lake Pecors property. Okay, that's a mining company. Which 5 minutes left in the day. We're not going to put ourselves into a state of depression by finishing the day with mining. It's Thursday, which, in case you didn't know, is the Friday of Bay Street. Nika Domi. Hello, Nika. You're like one of our most loyal peeps, and we love you for that.
You're reliable, Nika.
How do we say that? How do we see the action on Kronos earnings?
How do we see it?
Yeah.
Well, you wait for the earnings to come out, and then you look it up.
I think her point is that Kronos reported earnings, and this is the action that we're seeing here. Let's see.
Has anything happened yet with the funds are in the company now? You know they're going to be doing something here pretty soon, right?
Who? Yeah. Who?
You.
Is there an owl in here? Who?
Yeah.
Who? Okay, so basically there has been no financials put out by Kronos Group yet. So I think Nika's question is, what do we anticipate the action will be like on Kronos earnings as yet to be reported? To that we would say, Nika, without actually a picture of the earnings, we don't really want to say because we don't want to look any more idiotic than we already are, which, we try to look as smart as we can, which I realize does not work 90% of the time.
No, you can't look smarter than you are. I guess you could.
If you go like this, you can. I'm a smart motherfucker. You are stupid. Look at me. I'm a smart motherfucker. motherfucker. This is what a smart motherfucker looks like. No, just kidding. That's what an idiot looks like.
Well,
but,
I don't know.
So I don't know. What are we going to see? 2.4 billion strategic growth investment from Altria Group actually just closed on March the 8th. So
let the ink dry. Let the ink dry, for God's sake.
Let the ink take some breath.
You know, I mean, come on, let's go.
This is what I'm saying about the market getting ahead of itself.
I heard they're buying 3 corporate jets.
Well, I hope not. That's the sign of a sell when they start buying jets.
One for the...
Okay, I got a chart of Kronos Group up here. Let's hope my stupid...
I got a chart of Kronos Group up here.
Oh, do you? So we're both looking at charts of Kronos Group. Yours is... I'm looking at 6 months. So...
What am I looking at?
I want to back...
I'm looking at 6 months.
So how about that? Huh?
We're in...
Let's see. Oh, that's
we're in
the wrong
stasis.
One. We're in stasis. Well, this is the interesting thing. So here's where the announcement was back in December, was it? December, of the Altria Group's intended investment. It closes 3 months later. And what happens when it closes? The stock starts to sell off. It's like, we've already priced that in, people. Here's where the peak of the pricing was, back here on February 4th. Oh, that's 30.57. I thought we saw 32 here one day.
Look at that run from here.
31.77 on March the 5th.
Look at that from here to here.
Yeah,
that's
that's what we'll call the Altria effect.
That's a move. But then, you know, as it got a little more exponential towards the end, a little correction. But it's really gone nowhere, hasn't it? In fact, you could argue it's down a tad. But yeah, I don't know.
Well, as Dan was saying, like the equilibrium effect, when it's so close to the highs, is not necessarily negative. And he was suggesting that, as we see, the Bollinger Bands indicate that there seems to be a break to one side developing. He tended to feel that it was more likely to go to the upside than the downside.
I'll tell you, I think the same thing on Kronos, and I'll tell you why. Because if you look at their little lows here, the little lows, get the chart up there again, please. Control tower, all along the watchtower. Anyway,
chart,
control tower. Control.
Chart. There we go.
So
3 happy,
a bit of a low,
faces.
3 smiling faces. You see that? They're a little higher, and I've seen this many times.
Higher
James.
highs.
Higher highs. No, higher lows. I heard that.
Higher lows. Higher lows and higher highs.
No, well, but the highs are not.
Game on.
It looks like a pennant.
Yes.
That's a bit of an ascending pennant, like that. See
Yes.
that? And that usually resolves itself to the upside.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Now, look at anything can happen. I'm really curious to see. Oh, got to stop talking. It's
Why?
4:31.
Yeah, but we didn't start till 10 minutes late.
Okay. Moving right along.
Saying hello to Simon Cleary. Retail has been moving Meta, FAF, and Chew. Yes? Juju had an idea but didn't execute. Oh, let's stop talking about that.
Jeez.
Let's see. PJ Rasuli. Remember I said the same as CJ. Dan went through the chart. I wanted to hedge you. I don't think he does. They're having a grand old time in the chat room over there that doesn't really involve us. Larry Lamo, actually, from New York. Hey, Larry, how's it going? Larry doesn't know this yet, but we're going to bring him on the show, and we're
selecting him.
He's from the live studio audience. We're going to go visit him in New York because he's in. I'm not going to give away your location, Larry, because you might not want that. But he's in upstate New York a bit, Long Island. We're going to be shooting.
That's upstate New York, Long Island?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Upstate New York, that's like Rochester.
Well, that's way upstate.
Oh, you mean little upstate?
Upstate from Manhattan.
Sure.
Nice
recovery, James.
Upstream from Manhattan. Anyways, okay, he's on Long Island.
I'm going uptown Toronto. I'm going up 2 blocks. As you can see,
we need somebody who knows more about New York geography. Anyways, we're gonna bring him on the show. We're gonna test the depth of his cannabis market knowledge, and if it passes muster, we're gonna talk to him about a situation where he might be a regular on the show.
I knew a guy that the term passes muster. He used to say passes mustard, and I used to say no, it isn't passes mustard. He said yes, it is.
Passes mustard.
That's passes muster.
Passes mustard.
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 No.
Pass the mustard.
Pass the mustard.
No, it's
I'll pass
like,
the, you know.
When somebody
want some
doesn't
mustard?
pass the mustard,
You know.
you got to reach over and grab it.
Babies produce mustard.
That is gross, Ed.
No, it's
Jesus.
not. It's a fact of life.
Well, it's a gross fact of life.
It's not gross.
Really? Well, I know who to call when I want somebody to come over and
Who
cut
are you
the
going to call?
mustard.
Who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters.
Exactly.
Exactly. Okay, you know what? It's we started late, so we're kind of ripping you off a bit by 6 minutes
You know what?
today,
You know what?
for which we beg your forgiveness.
You know, I think we're going to go on. We're going to do an all-nighter here.
We?
No, you.
I think not.
Okay. I think I've.
Okay, so people are saying, when is VCAN going to do the big jump? Well, it already did one. That was over the last 3 weeks. When's it going to do the next one? Watch them start to slam acquisitions into the mix here on a very non-dilutive basis. They're going to be very judicious with their...
Well, you're going to have some dilution on acquisition unless you use.
Well, no, not when they got $25 million coming in this year. That's what the look like is.
So they're going to fund their acquisitions from cash flow.
They have $5 million in the bank. I think 5 or 7 million. They've got 13 million for sure done deal this year, and possibly up to 25 million if certain acquisitions complete according to schedule. So it's like, well, if I can give you 10 million in cash and some shares, and I can take a big piece of your action, in fact, maybe all of it, that's why I think that there's a lot of compressed potential in the share price of Ventura. And again, I own it. So obviously, I am not to be trusted in these matters.
You're biased.
I'm super biased. I'm so biased I bought it.
People get ready. There's a train a-coming.
People get ready for lonesome dinner.
What about people get Eddie?
People get Eddie.
You got a pretty good voice, I must say.
Buy him beer.
Okay.
What else? Time to go, everybody.
How long you been on the wagon? How long you been on the
We want you
wagon?
to subscribe. We need to get to 100,000 subscribers so we can unlock the studios at all the YouTube studios around the world. To stream live from YouTube, we need to get to 100,000. Subscribe on YouTube. Use another account. Subscribe again. We need to get there.
We want to unlock the value.
We're going to be shooting from 10 studios around the world. We need 100,000 subscribers. Tell your friends.
Do you mind if I
relatives.
close this?
Close the door. And we'll see you all tomorrow.